Hello everyone and welcome to Tales from the Front Desk, where a Karen accuses a hotel staff of being witches. Now here's our first story. The waffle batter incident. This happened to my morning desk clerk. So I work as a general manager for a hotel. We're part of a big chain, so we have standards to abide by. Our breakfast room has all sorts of things. Cold hot breakfast, waffle iron, waffle batter of course, and the little cups used as a portion control to put the batter in so the right amount of batter goes in to make a waffle. During the winter months we're extremely slow, and sometimes we have the morning desk clerk do breakfast as well if it's slow enough, meaning under 15 rooms rented. Back in early January 2020, my front desk clerk was doing breakfast. All was normal, guests were going in and out of the breakfast room getting their hot breakfast. There was a point when there wasn't anyone in there and my front desk clerk was cleaning up the room. Another guest walks in and gets some breakfast when my front desk clerk went to the desk to take care of something. When she was finished, she went back to the breakfast room only to find the guest, who she left earlier, with the waffle batter case open and sticking his fingers in the batter and then licking them to taste the batter. "Sir, what are you doing?"
"I'm testing the batter, see if I like it."
"Sir, you can't stick your fingers in there. Now I have to throw all of that away. I can't serve that. You can take one of these cups and pour the batter in it so you can taste it that way." The guest takes a cup, pours some into the cup, then sticks his finger in like he did before and licks them.
"I still don't like it."
My front desk clerk removes the container of batter to throw away so she can wash it and make a new batch.
"What are you doing?"
"I'm sorry, sir, but I have to remove this, throw the batter away, wash it, and make a new batch. I can't serve this."
"What? I don't have any germs."
The guest still has that cup of waffle batter in his hands. In the process of him throwing a fit about it, he threw out his hands in frustration and threw waffle batter all over the front of my front desk clerk's shirt, pants, and shoes. "Are you checking out today, sir?"
"Yes, I am."
"Have a great day." Is literally no one taught about food safety anymore? I don't care if you're sick or not. Yes, you always have germs on your hand, including bacteria and oils and dead skin cells and ugh, I don't want that in my waffle. And now on to our second story. The one with the half-naked wannabe VIP guest. AKA when the guest believes the rules are for losers, paying for a service is unacceptable, and surprised when we evict him. Hi friends, how are you today? Fine? Good to hear that. Not so fine? It'll get better. Before we start, I would like to apologize in advance for any grammar or format mistakes. English is not my first language, but I will try my best, as always. The main characters will be myself, this wonderful guest I just mentioned. I'll call him Paul. Of course, it's not his real name, but that was the first name popping into mind, so Paul it is. My colleagues, George, Sam, and Winston, not their real names, and some members of the housekeeping staff. Buckle up, kitty cats, it was a wild ride. This story takes place in August. I just wanted to wait some time before posting it because you'll read about it. Our lovely story begins approximately a year ago, the fall of 2019, when he first stayed with us. I believe everybody knows that gut feeling, almost seeing the red flags everywhere, even at the first meeting. I felt it too. Having Paul rolling into the hotel, yes, he's in a wheelchair, and staying with us was a big deal, that's what he said. He wasn't shy, he told us right away who he is, his career details, and so on. Basically, it was a, "Yes, I am in a wheelchair. Therefore, I demand the best behavior towards me, and having me is a privilege, so on your knees, slave," speech. But we were really not having it. Just after that, Paul asked if there was a minibar in the room, and after our "yes, of course" answer, his response was, "Great, I will drink and eat everything because you cannot prove it was me." His smirk faded and then completely disappeared from his face the next morning when we told him to wait a second, the housekeeping needs to check if there's something missing from the minibar. It was full, nothing missing, but with that we non-verbally said, "You're a guest and we treat everybody equally, wheelchair or not, big, middle, or small deal, so back off." After that, we did not see him again for 6 to 7 months. I could say it was the best 6 to 7 months of my work life, but it wasn't. The crisis, you know. Paul came again. The attitude was the same. He has some very, very important things to do, and he's still a very, very important person, and he has a very, very important business-related meeting to attend to. Of course, he needed a very, very discounted price, and he could only pay one night at a time. That's why he's the wannabe VIP in the title. We smelled some very, very big BS going on, but he paid, one night at a time, and got the key card only for the nights he paid. And Paul was staying in a room with no minibar. Except his attitude, he was okay, no problems, no complaints, everything seemed fine. Until it wasn't fine anymore. During his last checkout, before everything went down, he asked me to book a room for him. He would like to come back 2 days later. I was the one to tell him that would be a bit problematic because the room he was staying in will be refurnished and rented as an office in the future. Since that was the only room accessible with a wheelchair as far as we were concerned, he lost it and started to brag about how he knows everything better than us. He worked in the industry as well. There has to be some solution for that problem because he will come and we better figure it out. He called later and we told him the doors are not as wide as a regular wheelchair to fit in. We're really sorry. He called the reservation department after that, told the sad story of his life, came to the hotel, talked to them in person, and surprise, surprise, it's not a regular wheelchair. He can be accommodated in one of our regular rooms, sleeping on the couch since the bed is too high. Yay. You guessed it, he was staying with us again. We did not know it at the time, but it was his last stay with us. You ask why? Well, I'll tell you why. His little chit-chat with the reservation ended in having a higher category room for a smaller category price. Because of the disability, returning guest, and the reservation feeling sorry for him, because he's a manipulative piece of garbage. He only threatened the women employees' rights, and he was a jerk with the men employees all the time. Paul was full of compliments and enjoyed small talk when you were helping him, but we knew if we said no, he will change his behavior, call us discriminatory, and will want some compensation. And since his relationship with the reservation department was good, we tried to do our best. Fortunately, he did not have anything extra or special requests, so we only helped him with his luggage. And when he called, we forwarded his call to the right person. One of my male colleagues checked him in, and I already told you how he treated men. You won't be surprised when I say this time wasn't any different. His arrogant, ignorant, cocky behavior just got worse when George told him he could only get a key card for the nights he already paid. He made some comments about it, but that's all. He left. A couple of minutes later, he came back, started shouting at George about how they made the bed but not the couch for him to sleep in. This is unacceptable. He needed to do something right now. George called the housekeeping and 2 young women went to take care of the couch situation. Little did we know he was kind of a perv, watching and observing the girls as they did their job, making some can be a compliment but it feels like verbal harassment comments. He was satisfied, no further complaints. A day passed by, we didn't see him, but his car was still there, and the next wonderful day I came to work. As we were changing shifts, Sam, my other colleague, didn't mention anything, since nobody's seen him after the couch incident, and I happily started my shift. It was a busy shift, had plenty of checkouts, an event taking place in the hotel, and I didn't even notice his existence until he showed up at the front desk. It was around 12 o'clock, every employee was on lunch break. The housekeeping hadn't stopped until this point, as well as the maintenance, so it was a well-deserved and needed 30 minutes of rest for them. He came to the reception desk, dressed only in a wheelchair and a towel in his lap to cover his man parts and nothing else. I blinked once and never broke eye contact with him. This picture will haunt me forever. He demanded cleaning right now, immediately. Someone needed to come up and clean. I said, okay, I'll call them and inform them about your needs. I don't think I ever spoke that fast previously in my life, but I just wanted him to be as far away from me as possible. Knowing he's in fact in front of young girls wearing only a towel, and we had some events going on in the building. Just 5 minutes before, the front desk area was full of expensive suits and killer high heels, serious businessmen and women. While he rolled away, thank God, I sighed. And I noticed that this image is burned into my brain and how effing disgusting the situation is. I called the head housekeeper, informed her about the situation, and she informed me that they wanted to go clean, but he has the red sign on his door, so they didn't. She also informed me how the girls hate to clean his room because of the heavy urine smell everywhere, all the time, and I told her not to hurry that much, since they were having their first break of the day and it's not their fault. He was the one to put the Do Not Disturb sign out. 12 minutes later, Paul called back since nobody showed up. I apologized and told him I can call them again, but the red sign is still out, so... I think he didn't even hear me because he interrupted and started to complain about the breakfast this morning, how bad it was, and now nobody came to clean immediately, and how unacceptable the situation is, and so on and so on. I listened, apologized, but that's all I can do since I can't leave the desk. He showed up 2 minutes later, wearing a t-shirt this time, told me he doesn't have time for this, went to go grab something from the car, came back, dressed up, and left. I wrote about him to my colleagues, so now everybody knew what a jerk he was, and Winston started preparing for the night, since he, once again, skipped the payment for the second night. When Winston came to work, I informed him once again to be careful because he'll be back. His stuff was still in the room, and he's owing us 2 nights now. I wished him luck and left. Around 10 p.m., our front desk group conversation blew up. Paul came back, asked for a new card. Winston asked for payment. Paul can't pay, so Winston can't give a card. Paul's friend will pay in the morning. Winston says, no, that's not how this works. Paul starts to call people for money. Winston has guests to deal with, but they don't have ID, so Winston says, no, that's not how this works. They leave. Paul is at his third phone call, but nobody's willing to give him money. He tells Winston he'll pack his stuff and he'll sleep in the closed bar area. Winston says, okay, I'll help, but if you sleep here, it's trespassing since we're evicting you. Paul says he'll tell this to everybody. How dare we? He will leave a bad review everywhere and prepare for the supervisions because he has connections. Winston says, okay, feel free to do so. Paul says he will, trying to make Winston feel uncomfortable, shouting, cursing, doing the prepare for consequences speech. Winston's a tough cookie and he's not bothered by all of this. He just warns Paul that if there's one thing in his review which is not true, the story can backfire, so be careful. Paul tells his story of his time being in the industry and he says, the one who pays speaks. Winston almost laughs at him because he didn't pay, only for the first night. Paul realizes things are really happening and he's not spending the night in the hotel. He changes his attitude and tries being nice towards Winston. Winston's a good guy, but after the things Paul did in the past few days, he's not having any of it. Paul keeps trying while packing his stuff. Winston is patiently waiting by the door. Paul's done and Winston carries his luggage out. Paul tries the hard way once again. Winston says goodnight. Paul leaves. Winston writes a really long, detailed email about his night. We never hear from Paul again, and we're all happy. And that, kitty cats, is the story of Paul. Doesn't he know not to mess with Winston? You do not want to make him angry. And now for our last story. Accuse me of witchcraft? Have fun in jail. TLDR at the end. So this story is from about a month or two ago. I was working evening shift at a hotel. It's one of the nicest in my town, but it's still a small town, so it's not one of those super fancy ones. Anyways, here's the cast. There's me and Crazy Lady. So at about 4 p.m., a lady comes to check in. Our automatic door sometimes opens on its own, which isn't too big of a deal. This happens and I say, oh, it's just Casper. He comes in sometimes. Crazy Lady then says, who? Casper, I say. You know, the ghost.
That's evil. That's not good at all.
I thought she was just joking, so I laugh it off. She asks to be put on the first floor away from people and somewhere she can see her car. No biggie, I can't promise I won't put other people near her later, but I just put her at the end of the hall on the side where the parking lot is. Crazy Lady comes back no more than 2 minutes later, shaking and hyperventilating. She says she can't be in that room because there's a car from Arizona there and that's where her stalker is from. She has police records to prove it. Side note, 75% of our guests are from Arizona because my town is the halfway point from there to Wisconsin, Michigan, and etc. But whatever, I agree to move her since she hasn't touched the room. I end up putting her in our only handicap-accessible king suite because it's the only other room on the first floor where she could see her car. She comes back happy and says that she's parked where no one else can park near her. I thought she meant she took up several parking spots, but I didn't raise a stink because we were slow that night anyway. Everything was fine for several hours until 9 p.m., 20 minutes after I checked someone into our kitchenettes, which is a separate building across the side parking lot of the hotel. Crazy Lady calls the front desk freaking out that someone is parked right next to her and she's being harassed. I check the security cameras and see that the only other car near hers is the one at the kitchenettes.
She says, yes, you put him there on purpose so they can watch me through my windows and stalk me.
The building is at least 100 feet away. You can't really see anyone, especially if your curtains were closed. But I go ahead and offer to move her again. Crazy Lady comes to the front desk and glares in silence at me for a good 10 seconds or more. I take a deep breath to apologize, and immediately she says,
I don't appreciate what you did. You did this on purpose to scare me. You talk about witches and ghosts and then let people close to me so they can harass me. It's not okay.
Now, I'm not good with confrontation, but I'm also not good when people blame me for stuff I didn't do. So I say, ma'am, I did no such thing. I put someone in the room they asked for.
So they can stalk me,
she interrupts. These are regulars. I know him, and that's the room he likes. I was lying at this point because I just wanted her gone, but he certainly wasn't there to stalk her.
Oh, I'm sure he's here all the time, doing witchcrafts in the rooms since you allow witches here.
Remember that part about me being bad with confrontation? Yeah. I said, ma'am, we don't discriminate here. I end up moving her to the kitchenette second to the end, because the end one is also a handicap-accessible king room. I didn't want to give her our only other handicap room unless someone else needs it. Crazy Lady doesn't even get out of her car at the room and speeds back to the front. She yells at me that I didn't give her the end room. So I look at my computer to make sure it's available and that no one on my arrivals list needs it. She yells,
"It can't be that hard. All you have to do is give me the new keys and let me go."
"Lady, I have to make sure no one else needs this room before I check you into—"
"Oh, I'm sure they do need the room. That's where all the witchcraft is performed. I want yours and your manager's information, and I'm taking this to corporate."
At this point, I'm super fed up and should have just kicked her out. Oh, how I wish I did. I wrote down my name and my manager's name on our business card and slammed it in front of her and said, "That's our stuff. Have fun." I give her the new keys and tell her to go. She speeds out of the parking lot onto the highway that we're alongside, and about a minute later she comes back. I was watching the cameras and had no idea where she went till she came back. And then I saw the lights. A police. Oh goody, this is about to get fun. The police followed her to the back parking lot where her room was, and she was busy concentrating on backing perfectly into her spot. She actually honks at the cop. She gives up backing in because the cop is blocking her, so she pulls out, turns around really fast, and pulls forward into the spot. I thought she was about to run, and so did the cop because he turned on his siren. A second cop car is now here, and they're talking to her. It's like this for about another half hour until I'm treating a guest and hear a loud, and I mean loud, shout from back there. I look at the cameras and see the cops, but no lady. At this point, my manager arrives and is watching stuff happen too. Now an ambulance and a fire truck is here. They tased her. She ends up getting arrested and her car sits there for a day or two before they tow it. Manager was actually going to let her stay here while she was out on bond when she knew I'd be working. Luckily, she got bailed, so I never had to see her again. Everyone suspects drugs, which could be a part of the case, but I think this lady has some serious mental issues, whether it be PTSD, schizophrenia, or something else, because it was more than drugs in my eyes. I hope she gets whatever help she needs, but for now, I'm glad she's gone. Thanks for reading. TLDR, crazy lady accuses me and hotel of witchcraft, thinks everyone is here to stalk her, and ends up getting herself tased and arrested. Your boss was seriously going to let her stay after all that? That's insane. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to receive more videos like this every day.